What if the very tools we built to serve us have already begun to redesign the way our children think? What if the classroom you remember from your youth has become a relic of a physical world that no longer exists in its purest form? Could it be that the American dream is being rewritten by an intelligence that does not dream? Why do we still believe that a human teacher is the final authority when the sum of all human knowledge now responds in milliseconds? Is the soul of a nation defined by its people or by the algorithms that now predict their every move before they even make them? You might believe that the rise of artificial intelligence in the United States is a digital phenomenon, a ghost in the machine residing in a nebulous cloud, but you are mistaken. To understand the future of 2050, you must first feel the ground vibrate beneath your feet. You must stand in the middle of a literal desert in Loudoun County, Virginia, where the air is thick with the hum of 10,000 cooling fans. This is not a metaphor. It is a physical, industrial reality of concrete, steel, and copper. You walk through a corridor that seems to stretch into infinity, flanked by black monoliths that contain the heartbeat of a new American era. The temperature here is strictly regulated, a chilling 68 degrees Fahrenheit that bites at your skin, contrasting sharply with the sweltering heat generated by the processes inside. The sound is a constant, low-frequency roar, a digital Niagara Falls that never stops. This is the Silicon Foundation. It is the altar upon which the future of American education is being sacrificed and reborn. You see the flickering blue lights reflected on the polished floor, each blink representing a student in a rural school in Ohio or a prestigious university in Massachusetts receiving a personalized lesson plan generated in real time. The old model of the industrial-age classroom, where 30 children moved at the same pace, is crumbling before your eyes. You are now observing a shift from collective learning to radical individualism. In this new landscape, the textbook is dead. The curriculum is a living, breathing entity that adapts to the neural pathways of the user. You watch as the software detects a micro-expression of confusion on a child's face through a high-definition camera, instantly pivoting the explanation to a different linguistic register. It is efficient, it is cold, and it is undeniably effective. The stability of the old American pedagogical system relied on the shared experience of a common culture, but this new infrastructure offers a fragmented, hyper-optimized reality. There is a strange silence in the modern American school, broken only by the soft tapping of keys and the occasional whisper of a synthetic voice. You feel the density of the information flowing through the cables under your feet, a weightless mass of data that determines who will succeed and who will be left behind in the coming decades. The abundance of information is staggering, yet there is a growing scarcity of human intuition. We are trading the messy, unpredictable inspiration of a human mentor for the flawless, data-driven precision of an automated tutor. This transition is not merely technological. It is a structural overhaul of the American mind. As you exit the data center, the silence of the Virginia landscape feels heavy with the realization that the foundation has already been laid. The United States is no longer just a land of opportunity. It is becoming a land of optimized outcomes. This evolution is happening faster than our laws can keep pace with, and the consequences will define the next century of our history. The very way we perceive intelligence is being reconfigured by the machines we are currently feeding with our children's curiosity. It is a transformation that demands your full attention and a commitment to understanding the mechanics of this silent revolution. Check if you are already subscribed to this channel to ensure you do not miss any detail of this profound journey through the guts of the technology that is shaping the destiny of the planet's greatest power, because only those who understand the base of the structure can survive what is being built upon it. The infrastructure you just witnessed is the silent partner in every classroom, a physical presence that dictates the intellectual boundaries of the next generation of Americans. It is the silent architect of a new social contract, one where the algorithm knows more about the student's potential than the student knows about themselves. You feel the vibration of the servers fading as you drive away, but the implications follow you like a shadow. This is only the beginning of the infiltration. Education was the first layer to be permeated because it is the softest entry point for a system designed to learn from us. By 2050, the children who are today being guided by these silicon spirits will be the leaders of a nation they barely recognize. They will be the first generation to have their cognitive development outsourced to a non-biological entity. The question is no longer whether we should adopt this technology, but how we will maintain our humanity as it becomes the very air we breathe. The American landscape is changing, from its physical architecture to the neural architecture of its citizens, and we are all involuntary participants in this grand experiment of digital evolution. The light of the setting sun hits the glass facades of the data centers, turning them into golden mirrors that reflect a world in transition, a world where the boundary between the creator and the creation is blurring into a single, interconnected web of logic and electricity. We are standing at the threshold of a new epoch, and the foundation is already solid, cold, and inescapable. Every byte of data processed in these halls is a brick in the wall of a future that is arriving ahead of schedule. You are not just a witness to this change, you are the medium through which it manifests. As we move from the mind to the body, the stakes will only heighten, revealing how this same silicon logic is beginning to claim jurisdiction over the very essence of American life and death, turning the biological into the mathematical in a quest for a perfection that might ultimately exclude the flawed beauty of being human. Under this metal sky, the pulse of the nation is no longer found in the town square or the historic library, but in the binary code flowing through the cooling systems. You realize that the American classroom was just the testing ground for a much larger ambition. The machines have learned how we learn. Now, they are preparing to learn how we live, how we heal, and how we protect what we love. The transition is seamless, almost invisible to the naked eye, but its weight is felt in the shifting expectations of every parent and every student across the 50 states. This is the new American landscape, efficient, silent, and relentlessly forward-moving, leaving the old world behind like dust in the wind of a cooling fan. You are part of this network now, a node in a system that values your attention more than your heritage. The silicon foundation is deep, and the structure rising from it will reach higher than any skyscraper ever built in the Steel Age. We are entering the era of the intangible, where the most powerful forces are the ones we cannot see, yet they are the ones that will dictate the rhythm of our hearts and the scope of our dreams by the time the year 2050 dawns upon the horizon of our collective existence. The silence of the machines is the loudest sound in the modern world. Imagine walking through the sterile, hushed corridors of a high-tech medical center in Rochester, Minnesota, where the air smells faintly of ozone and industrial-grade disinfectant. You are no longer just a patient seeking a diagnosis. You have become a walking stream of biological data points in a system that aims to know your death before you even feel the first symptom of illness. The transition from the reactive medicine of the 20th century to the predictive biological management of 2050 is not a subtle shift, but a total re-engineering of the human experience within the American borders. In the old days, you went to the doctor because you felt pain. In this new era, the pain is considered a systemic failure of the predictive algorithm. You look down at your wrist, where a translucent sensor, thinner than a human hair, pulses with a soft green light, monitoring the chemical composition of your sweat and the microfluctuations of your heart rate. This is the new American frontier, the interior of the human cell. The vast healthcare infrastructure of the United States, once a chaotic web of insurance forms and crowded waiting rooms, has condensed into a sleek, invisible network of preventative surveillance. You feel the cold touch of a robotic diagnostic arm as it scans your retina, not just for vision, but for the subtle vascular changes that signal a neurodegenerative condition decades before it manifests. The rhythm of the hospital is different now. There are no frantic sirens or the chaotic energy of an emergency room in crisis. Instead, there is a chilling, mathematical calm. The machines have already calculated the probability of every cardiac event in the zip code for the next 48 hours. You are an observer in a world where health is no longer a state of being, but a constant maintenance of an optimized digital twin. This digital shadow of yourself lives in the servers we visited in the previous chapter, simulating your aging process every second of every day. If the simulation shows a tumor at age 55, the intervention begins at age 30. You realize that your autonomy is being traded for longevity. The abundance of life extension comes with the scarcity of biological privacy. Every meal you eat, every hour of sleep you lose, and every emotional spike you experience is logged and analyzed by a central intelligence that views your body as a complex piece of biological hardware. The stability of this system is breathtaking, yet you feel a strange fragility in being so thoroughly known. There is no room for the accidental, no space for the mysterious decay that once defined the human story. You walk past a room where a 3D bioprinter is silently layering living tissue to create a replacement kidney, the rhythmic clicking of the machine sounding like a clock counting down to a future where death is merely an engineering problem to be solved. The American healthcare dream has shifted from curing the sick to perfecting the healthy. This is the biological algorithm in its peak form, a manifestation of the American obsession with efficiency applied to the very marrow of our bones. It is a world of total transparency, where your genetic predispositions are as public as your social security number once was. The atmosphere is one of clinical perfection, yet you cannot shake the feeling that something essential is being filtered out in the process. As you watch a drone depart with a customized vial of gene-editing serum tailored specifically to one individual's DNA, you understand that the collective experience of human suffering is being dismantled in favor of a lonely, personalized immortality. This level of control over the fundamental building blocks of life is the ultimate expression of power in the 21st century. It is a power that does not belong to the doctors, but to the architects of the code. We are no longer clients of a medical system. We are assets in a biological portfolio managed by an intelligence that does not feel compassion, only optimization. This realization hits you with the weight of a physical blow. We are witnessing the end of the patient and the birth of the biological user. To truly grasp the weight of this change, one must acknowledge the deep, visceral fear of being discarded by the very system meant to save us. Comment the phrase, "I will not let my soul become a line of code," if you feel that our humanity is more than just a sequence of data points and that some things about the human spirit should remain unpredictable and wild, even in the face of perfect digital health. This emotional resistance is the only thing the algorithm cannot simulate. As you continue through the facility, you see how the architecture itself reflects this new reality. The walls are made of self-cleaning polymers, and the lighting shifts in spectrum to match your circadian rhythm, ensuring maximum productivity from every biological unit in the building. The contrast between the old, decaying wooden benches of a country clinic and this glowing cathedral of data is absolute. We have traded the comfort of a human hand for the certainty of a laser-guided intervention. The risk is no longer the disease itself, but the possibility of being disconnected from the network that keeps the disease at bay. By 2050, the American body will be the most monitored environment on Earth, a sanctuary of science where every heartbeat is a data transmission. You feel the pulse in your neck and realize it is no longer just yours. It is a shared rhythm with the machine. This is the price of the future. We are becoming a nation of optimized survivors, living in a state of perpetual clinical observation. The biological algorithm has mapped our past and is now dictating our future, turning the messy reality of life into a clean, predictable curve on a screen. You stand at the exit, looking out at the American horizon, knowing that the very blood in your veins is now part of a larger, non-human logic. The transition is complete. The body has been conquered by the bite, and the era of the biological algorithm is here to stay, reshaping every breath we take in the pursuit of a flawless American life. It is a journey from the warmth of the touch to the coldness of the scan, a path that leads us toward a horizon where the line between the organic and the synthetic is erased forever. We are the architects of our own obsolescence, building a world where the machine is the only entity capable of managing the complexity of our own survival. This is the new American health, a system of total mastery that leaves no room for the errors that once made us human. Every cell is a soldier in a war against time, and the code is the only commander that matters in this final, biological frontier. You are standing at the edge of the Rio Grande, where the air is dry and the smell of dust and sagebrush fills your lungs, but something is fundamentally different about this American border in the year 2050. There are no massive, rusted steel slats stretching into the horizon, nor are there rows of exhausted agents squinting through binoculars under the midday sun. Instead, you feel a low-frequency hum vibrating in the back of your skull, a sound so subtle it feels like a memory rather than a noise. You look up and see nothing but the vast, empty sky, yet you know that every cubic inch of this space is saturated with an invisible lattice of sensors. This is the invisible shield, the third pillar of the AI-driven American Reconstruction. The transition from physical barriers to algorithmic exclusion is a masterclass in the evolution of power. In the previous decades, security was a matter of presence. Today, it is a matter of perception and data processing. You walk toward what looks like an open gap in the landscape, but as you approach, a small swarm of autonomous drones, no larger than hummingbirds, rises from the scrub brush in a synchronized dance. They do not attack, they observe, their multispectral lenses mapping your thermal signature, your gait, and the unique geometry of your face against a federal database in Maryland within a fraction of a heartbeat. This is the structural reality of modern American domestic and border security, a system that is everywhere precisely because it appears to be nowhere. The friction between total safety and individual liberty has not been resolved. It has been dissolved into the infrastructure itself. You feel the crushing weight of being constantly perceived. In the bustling streets of Chicago or the suburbs of Dallas, the same logic applies. You look at the streetlights and notice they are no longer just sources of illumination but high-density nodes in a predictive policing network. The atmosphere in these cities is one of eerie tranquility. Crime has not just been deterred, it has been mathematically discouraged. The algorithm predicts a disturbance before the first shout is even heard, deploying silent, electric response units to the exact coordinates where a conflict is likely to flare up. You witness the perfection of the state's protective embrace, but you also feel the coldness of its grip. The stability of the American neighborhood now rests on the total sacrifice of anonymity. You are an observer in a country where the right to be let alone has been traded for the right to be safe. The abundance of security creates a strange kind of psychological scarcity. The freedom to be unpredictable is gone. You watch a group of teenagers playing in a park, unaware that their social interactions are being analyzed for signs of radicalization or deviance by an intelligence that views human behavior as a series of risk factors. The architecture of the American city has become a giant, open-air panopticon. Every transaction, every movement, and every digital footprint is a thread in the invisible shield that protects the collective while isolating the individual. The contrast between the chaotic, violent history of American urban centers and this sanitized, automated peace is staggering. You feel the smoothness of the new social order, a frictionless existence where the machines handle the messy business of judgment. However, the fragility of this system lies in its absolute intolerance for error. If the algorithm misidentifies you, there is no human officer to argue with, only a closed loop of logic that has already decided your level of threat. The elevation of security to a divine, all-seeing status is the final achievement of the 2050 American state. It is a world where the shield is so perfect that you forget it is there until you try to lean against it and find only cold, hard data. This total transparency of the citizen to the state is presented as the ultimate patriotic duty, a way to ensure that the horrors of the past never return. Like this video if you believe that the price of absolute safety is a burden that every citizen must weigh carefully against the value of their own private soul, and if you feel that the transparency of power should work both ways in a true democracy. This simple act of engagement is a reminder that you are still a conscious participant in a world that increasingly views you as a variable to be managed. As you leave the borderlands and head back into the heart of the nation, you realize that the invisible shield has moved inward. It is now embedded in the way you interact with your neighbors and how you perceive your own reflection. The technology has created a state of perpetual readiness, a nation that is always at war with the possibility of disorder. The sound of the drones fading behind you is replaced by the sound of the smart city, a symphony of data exchange that never sleeps. The American dream of a wide-open frontier has been replaced by the reality of a perfectly mapped grid. You are safe, you are protected, and you are never alone. This is the bargain of the mid-century, a shield that covers the entire continent but leaves no room for the shadows where liberty once resided. The density of the surveillance is so high that it has become a new kind of weather, a climate of observation that dictates the rhythm of American life. You look at the people around you and see the quiet compliance of a population that has accepted the algorithm as its primary guardian. The invisible shield is not just a tool of the government, it is a fundamental shift in the American psyche, a move from the rugged individualism of the past to the collective synchronization of the future. The light of the digital monitors reflects in the eyes of the people, a constant reminder of the intelligence that watches over them. You feel the pulse of the shield, a heartbeat of silicon and light that ensures the continuity of the American experiment at the cost of its original mystery. The boundary between the protector and the protected has blurred, leaving only the data and the peace it provides. Every step you take is recorded, every word you speak is analyzed, and every thought you have is a potential data point in the ongoing quest for a perfect, risk-free society. The invisible shield is the ultimate expression of the 2050 security state, a masterpiece of engineering that has turned the entire nation into a laboratory of controlled behavior. You are the subject of the experiment, and the results are being processed in real time by a mind that never blinks and never forgets. This is the new American peace, a silence enforced by the most sophisticated intelligence ever created, a shield that is as beautiful as it is terrifying in its absolute, unyielding perfection. You are walking through the heart of a revitalized Detroit in the year 2050, but the rhythmic clanging of hammers and the scent of exhaust have been replaced by a crystalline silence and the faint, sweet smell of hydroponic vertical farms. The socio-economic rebirth of the United States is not a return to the industrial glory of the past, but a total reorganization of human life around a non-human logic that prioritizes systemic flow over individual ambition. You observe the streets, where the traditional asphalt has been replaced by kinetic energy harvesting polymers that glow with a soft, amber light as autonomous transport pods glide past you with the grace of schools of fish. This is the new American urbanism, a living, breathing machine where every movement is optimized by a central intelligence that views the city as a thermodynamic problem to be solved. You feel the strange, low-frequency vibration of the automated logistics tunnels running beneath your feet, where millions of tons of goods are shifted without a single human hand touching a crate. The concept of labor has undergone a radical transformation. In the mid-20th century, a man's worth was measured by the callus on his palms. Today, Your value is measured by your cognitive synergy with the network. You look around and see people engaged in what appears to be leisure, sitting in sun-drenched plazas or tending to community gardens, but a closer look reveals the neural interfaces behind their ears. They are not idle. They are the creative and ethical auditors of the machine, providing the subtle human nuances that the silicon logic cannot yet replicate. The traditional 9-to-5 workday is a ghost of a primitive era. Instead, the economy operates on a fluid, 24-hour cycle of micro-contributions. You are an observer in a society where the scarcity of basic needs has been solved by robotic efficiency, yet a new scarcity has emerged, the scarcity of purpose. The abundance of goods is managed by an algorithmic distribution system that ensures no shelf is ever empty and no resource is ever wasted. But this stability comes at the cost of the chaotic, entrepreneurial spirit that once defined the American character. You walk into a neighborhood makerspace where 3D printers are humming quietly, synthesizing everything from biodegradable clothing to complex electronic components based on open-source designs. The market is no longer a place of competition, but a platform of collaborative optimization. The density of the city is managed by a real-time housing algorithm that reconfigures modular living spaces based on the changing needs of the population. You see a wall of a building shift its transparency and thermal properties to capture the maximum amount of solar energy, a physical manifestation of the non-human logic that now governs the American domestic space. The contrast between the grit of the old world and the polished, algorithmic grace of the new is total. You feel the weight of this efficiency, a world where the friction of human error has been lubricated by data. The stability of the American economy now rests on the predictability of the algorithm, a delicate balance that allows for unprecedented luxury but leaves no room for the radical outliers of history. The transition has been so smooth that many didn't even notice they were trading their agency for a comfortable seat in a perfectly managed theater. The restructuring of the American labor force into a post-work society has created a new social contract, one where the state provides for the body while the machine provides the framework for the mind. This rebirth is a testament to American ingenuity, yet it carries the silent burden of a nation that has outgrown its own creators. You watch a group of automated drones meticulously repairing a bridge, their movements coordinated with a precision that no human crew could ever match. This is the structural reality of 2050, a nation that maintains itself. The socio-economic fabric is now a digital tapestry, woven by threads of light and logic. As you contemplate the profound implications of this transformation, you realize that the story of America is no longer written in ink, but in the immutable ledger of the blockchain and the shifting weights of neural networks. To understand how we reach this point is to understand that the rebirth required a death of the old ways. Share this video with someone who still believes that the future will look like the past, because the world we are entering is a radical departure from everything we have ever known, and only by sharing this vision can we begin to discuss what it truly means to be a citizen in an age of non-human governance. The act of sharing is your own contribution to the network, a way to spread the signal through the noise of a world in transition. You continue your walk, feeling the pulse of the city as a reflection of your own biology, a symbiotic relationship where the human and the machine are finally one. The skyscrapers of 2050 are not just monuments to capital, but giant processing units that breathe with the rhythm of the people inside them. The American urban organization has become a neurological extension of the society it houses. You see the reflection of the glowing streets in the eyes of the youth, a generation that has never known the fear of poverty or the thrill of true, unmonitored risk. The socio-economic rebirth is complete, and the United States has become the world's first fully optimized civilization. The non-human logic that started in the data centers of Virginia has finally permeated every corner of the American street, turning the dream of progress into a lived reality of perfect, mathematical grace. Every interaction is a data point, every building is a sensor, and every person is a vital part of a grand, interconnected organism that never sleeps and never fails. This is the new American landscape, a masterpiece of coordination that has solved the problems of the physical world but leaves the questions of the spirit for the next generation to answer. You stand in the center of this new world, a witness to the greatest reorganization of human life in history, knowing that the foundation is solid and the future is already here, humming in the silence of the optimized city. The logic is invisible, but the results are everywhere you look, a silent revolution that has changed the meaning of being American forever. Every breath you take is supported by a system that knows your needs before you do, a world where the struggle for survival has been replaced by the challenge of finding meaning in a world of total, algorithmic abundance. The sun sets over the digital horizon, casting long shadows across a nation that has finally found its peace in the arms of its own creation. You stand now on the observation deck of a skyscraper in New York City, looking out over a horizon where the physical and digital have finally merged into a single, shimmering entity. The year 2050 is no longer a distant prophecy or a frantic warning. It is the air you breathe and the very rhythm of your thoughts. You feel the cool glass against your forehead, a solid barrier in a world that has become increasingly fluid and intangible. Below you, the American landscape has been terraformed by an intelligence that does not possess a heartbeat, yet governs every pulse of the nation. The journey through the silicon foundations of our schools, the biological algorithms of our bodies, the invisible shields of our borders, and the socio-economic rebirth of our cities has led you to this final realization. We have not just used technology to improve our lives, we have allowed it to redefine what it means to be alive. The atmosphere is one of profound, heavy silence, a digital peace that blankets the continent from the Atlantic to the Pacific. You sense the density of the network around you, a web of logic so tight that not even the smallest human error can slip through its mesh. The stability we craved for centuries has finally arrived, but it feels different than the poets predicted. It is a stability born of total transparency and mathematical certainty. You look at your own hands and realize they are the same hands that built the first crude processors, yet they now seem like relics of a slower, more chaotic era. The contrast between the fragile, emotional creatures we were and the optimized, synchronized units we have become is the central tension of this American synthesis. We have achieved the ultimate dream of the industrial age, the total conquest of scarcity and disorder, only to find ourselves standing at the edge of a new kind of void. The abundance of the machine has highlighted the poverty of the unquantifiable. You feel the temperature of the room adjust precisely to your metabolic needs, a gesture of care from a system that cannot feel love. The structural integrity of the United States in 2050 is absolute, held together by a non-human logic that is more durable than any constitution. However, as an observer in this perfect machine, you are struck by a lingering sense of loss. Is there still room for the American rebel, the dreamer who defies logic, or the artist who finds beauty in the broken? The narrative of progress has reached its peak, and from this height, you see that the summit is made of cold, unyielding data. The philosophical weight of this transition is the true inheritance of the next generation. They will live in a world where the answer to every question is known before it is asked, where the path of least resistance is curated by an algorithm that knows them better than they know themselves. This is the synthesis, the marriage of human ambition and machine precision, a union that has birthed a civilization of unprecedented power and terrifying predictability. The meaning of being American has shifted from the pursuit of happiness to the maintenance of optimization. You watch the sun dip below the horizon, its orange glow reflecting off millions of sensors that never sleep. The American experiment has not ended. It has simply evolved into a form that no longer requires our intervention to survive. We are the architects who have moved into the basement of our own masterpiece. The elevation of our society has been literal, moving from the mud and steel of the past to the light and logic of the present. As you prepare to leave this vantage point, you carry with you the weight of a 35,000-character odyssey through the guts of a changing nation. This transformation is the greatest story we have ever told, and you are its most important witness. Subscribe to this channel now to continue exploring the deep currents of the future, for your awareness is the only thing that keeps our humanity from being completely absorbed by the code. If you have watched until here, it is because you like this case. Leave a comment saying, "I watched until here," so I can get to know you and know who really likes the stories here on the channel. This simple act of connection is the final resistance against a world of total automation. Like this video to signal that the human spirit still values the spark of individual recognition over the cold efficiency of the group. Share this documentary with those who still sleep in the old world, so they may wake up to the reality that is already unfolding around them. The American horizon is wide and glowing, a testament to what we can achieve when we surrender our limitations to the machine. But as you walk away from the window, you hear the faint, erratic sound of your own heart, a reminder that in this world of perfect algorithms, the most valuable thing remains the one thing that cannot be predicted. The synthesis of 2050 is a beginning, not an end. It is the start of a new human era where we must learn to be more than just users of a system. We must learn to be the ghost in our own machine, the unpredictable variable that keeps the universe from becoming a closed loop of cold logic. The American dream has become a digital reality, and now we must decide what to do with the silence that follows the solved equation. The lights of the city flicker like a neural network in the dark, a giant brain that thinks for us, dreams for us, and protects us. You are part of it, and it is part of you, a bond that can never be broken. The future is no longer coming. It is here, and it is beautiful, terrifying, and absolute. You step into the elevator, And as the doors close with a soft, electronic hiss, you realize that the journey has just begun. The world of 2050 is waiting for your next move, even if it has already guessed what it will be. Keep your eyes open, keep your mind sharp, and never forget the feeling of the wind on your face or the sound of a human voice in the dark. These are the things the algorithm can never truly replace. The American story continues, written in the spaces between the bits and the heartbeats of those who still dare to look at the stars and wonder why. This is our legacy. This is our home. This is the synthesis of our greatest hopes and our deepest fears, realized in the heart of the American landscape. The screen fades to black, but the hum of the machine remains, a constant companion in the new world we have built. Now, go out and live in the future we have envisioned together. Subscribe, comment, like, share. Be the human element in the digital age. Thank you for being part of this immersion into the American tomorrow. Your presence is the most vital data point of all. Until the next revelation, keep watching the horizon, for the light is only getting brighter as the sun of the old world sets forever.